Clue what to order. So
right? Yeah.
So he went ahead and ordered for me, and I told him, I said, I want something spicy and something beefy. And so he ordered me the pho soup.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, this is it. This is it. So it was a good dish.
Yeah, Leslie Tram. She's a real estate individual.
All right. Thank y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Mayor Larry Wallace, for having me for Real Talk session number 4.
Yeah, session 4.
We made it through 4 of these so far. And I want the audience to know that we're here at Pho Yes in Manor, right off 290. We're sharing a dish here that they cook here. And I'll tell you right now, the food is delicious. So anytime you're in for Vietnamese, make your way down to Pho Yes, and they'll take good care of you.
Oh yeah.
They'll take good care of you. Real Talk session 4, right?
Yeah. You know, I thought about. I was looking around and said, all right. You know, did I ask of what places may be interested for the coming calendar year?
Yeah.
And came here to Pho Yes. Been here a couple of times, and I was getting ready to tell you. So Leslie Tram is a real estate individual, and she helped bring Pho Yes here, as well as the Chokti.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so I met her when she took over as chair for the Asian Real Estate Organization out here, and Councilwoman Emily Hill and I went there. Mayor Victor Gonzalez was there.
Okay.
And so we were honorary inducted into them, but she made it a point to connect with me afterwards and bring me out here and come here and have a dish. And we were talking about, like, I've never been, I don't know what to get. And so, she basically was like, hey, try this, try that.
Yeah, let me work this out for you.
Yeah, but no, again, people seeing what we're doing in Manor. Yeah. The increased messaging, they're seeing things that we knew about that they didn't necessarily fully know of the community, of the camaraderie, of the helping each other out. And now that that's starting to be seen, we're getting more invites to come and learn more about what people want to do. Yeah. And is coming to Manor a great opportunity? So, come here, introduce.
Yeah. This is my first time here, actually. Yeah. But it is delicious food. It's probably my 3rd time having Vietnamese food. Okay. But it's good. It's delicious. I love it. You had some interesting stuff happen over the last couple of weeks.
Did I now?
Yeah. So interesting things happened over the last.
I'm sure you're gonna tell me about it. Make me relive all this all over again. All right, come on.
No, just cover, you know.
Come on.
No, but your dad was featured in the Manor Journal last Friday, and I wanted to ask you, how did you feel about the article and how they portrayed him on the cover?
As a veteran, I mean, you know, I'm adopted at birth, so I'm always going to have pride and respect for my parents being recognized for the things they've done.
Yeah.
And especially one veteran to another. You know, he was drafted for Vietnam, and his whole healthcare career started from when he went to Fort Sam Houston to do ear, nose, and throat training.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, to see him and to see that recognition, because a lot of times when you are a leader, not just any leader, a senior leader, and a public servant leader, you get a lot of things attacking you from every which way that half the time, 3/4 of the time, are not even justifiable.
Yeah.
Right? It's off of a base of nothing, a speculation of nothing, or it's just because you're the person they can see and they can have access to.
Sure.
Right? And so it's always great to see the advocation and the support and the recognition of the services and things that he's done that have resulted in the accomplishments and the credentials he has.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, but you know, yes, I love to see those, even with my own father, my own mother. But as the mayor of the town, he was, you know what I mean? As the mayor of the town, he was honored in. It had to be something even more special.
Of course. I mean, I got my news. I got the newspaper. As soon as I got it, I drove it over to his house, knocked on the door. He opened the door, and I gave it to him.
Okay.
And I waited for him to read it, and he looked at it, and he threw it back at me and said, "Man, where you find that photo from?"
That's the way it goes, you know. He's a humble servant, and probably didn't solicit any of that.
Of course.
But you do have to give honor where honor is due.
Yeah.
You know, you also were honored. Well,
When?
Well,
He talked about lift. I'm interested in it, and that's how that sparked. Like a lot of the things. Districts, a resolution, no, 54 actual programs.
Okay.
That have either been in collaboration with the school district, with the city, with somewhere else. This council, and council meaning the ones that just came off, with Valerie Dye and Danny Scarborough and Maria Amasqua.
Yeah.
54. That's one thing new within the city of Manor every week.
Yep.
Right? One thing new. And this LIFT program is one of them. The Black Mamas ATX is another one.
Yeah.
Right? And so what does it do, as you're saying, is when we're talking about we don't know who may be having a hard time getting around, because we see people still paying their mortgage. We see people still paying their taxes, and there's no utilities issues from figure out how to work through the red tape of CARES Act to get approval from the county. Here's a program that doesn't have necessarily all of those all that red tape and ropes to jump.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a three-way relationship. When I talked to the guy who's the Austin regional rep, and he said it has to be a 501c3 that just gets funneled through. Becky Lott, Michael Lofton from the African American Youth Harvest Foundation, because he has a partnership with the school district and does a lot of stuff here in the city of Manor. Absolutely. And Quincy Dunlap with the Austin Area Urban League. And they jumped on it. They submitted stuff to this guy within 24 or 48 hours. And we had the approval within another 48 hours.
Wow.
You know, so the announcement is actually a month after we got the approval.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? The announcement, you could ask council, because we have a list of things that have been approved that have not been announced yet.
Yeah.
And we have we have a list of things that are still in discussion.
Okay.
And then we have a list of everything that has been approved. Right? And so that was a couple things that were on the list of things that were approved, but had not formally been, again, to our own horn, for the organization or the entities involved to highlight it, and then from us as council to then acknowledge it and also give our thanks to the people that jumped onto the opportunity.
Absolutely, man. I mean, so the actual grant from LIFT would assist those students and or parents who are having trouble getting to grocery store, back and forth from school, classes, work, things of that sort.
So I don't know the ins and outs with how the school district's going to utilize theirs.
Right.
I believe it's to help get to and from school, and as you said, the essentials. That's pretty much what the grant is tailored around, is getting to the essentials that are needed. For the Harvest Foundation, the focus was to get voters to the polls.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
And to be able to help others if they need to get to medical appointments and so forth.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the Harvest Foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. Doctor's appointments, things that especially during this time, you got to have, right? Wow. So, speaking of elections, how you think it worked out, especially here in Manor?
What side?
Well, simply from the operational side, logistical side.
You know, it was interesting to see how things were going to play out on council. You knew most of everybody on council was across the board supporting, Ann Weir. So it was great to see that, happen and established. Didn't know what was going to happen in the other two positions. And we've had the onboarding, we did the canvas, we had our first city council meeting, and I believe we're going to continue to have a great cohesive team.
Yeah.
Just the same way as with the others that just came off board. this team, I believe, also wants to have open dialogue in conversations. Wants to be able to really think things out, talk things out, even if it's in front of the camera, to let people know that we're not just making decisions and not being transparent or open about how we're coming to those decisions. And then even more, some of the things council that was on there last year, some things we've relayed to them, and they've agreed, and they said definitely is the fact that even if we know the answer or why something's going to happen, if we believe the community needs to be informed on this piece of it, that we're still going to bring it up even though we already know the answer, because it's putting it on record, it's informing the community, and then being able to, if asked by the community, be able to point back to an actual date, time in the minutes that something was addressed.
That's awesome. And I saw yesterday you posted about Dr. Harvey.
Yes.
I need to talk about Dr. Harvey. I'm a big fan.
I try to turn that motion down, you know. They motioned that out there. I don't want to.
No, you didn't turn that one down. No, you didn't turn that one down. What does it mean to be a part of the mayor's pro team?
So the meaning of that is even changing and evolving with the new expectations of city council. You know, how we're looking at it, and Deja did a great job of the next evolution of the mayor pro tem. She started really diving into a lot of why certain things are being presented, how they're being presented. So she started asking more of those traditional questions that me and Councilman Harvey were doing, right? Harvey, you know, as mayor pro tem, and how we've talked about it is, we want the position of mayor pro tem to be viewed as preparing to fill the role of mayor, taking on as the number two in different meetings, in different events, in different actions.
Okay.
Having more of a dual-headed kind of leadership.
Absolutely.
Right? That if it's the mayor pro tem kind of speaking, it's also something that's the mayor is pretty much 9 times out of 10 going to back.
He's going to back it up.
Right? And that when hopefully in succession, if the mayor's out, the community is already going to be able to say, unless the mayor pro tem isn't running for mayor, then we need to start doing research on who would be the next best person for mayor.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So instead of having well, you don't have a budget or anything like that for even the mayor, let alone the deputy mayor,
right,
or something like that. So that would suffice for those things, where they can just step right in, and you have to be across town at a meeting, and you can still be on this side of town at a meeting through them.
Yep.
Makes all the sense in the world. Makes all the sense in the world. Do you have any advice for the candidates that didn't win?
Any advice for the candidates that
School board or city?
I think the same advice that I tell anybody. You know, when I went through Syracuse University's Institute for Veterans and Military Families, their inaugural cohort for veterans in politics, and then they have their second group going through, and I'm the only sitting mayor of our cohort that went through there. So advice that I give them and others that have thought about coming into politics ever since I've been in the office, the same thing I always tell them is, it's easier to get into the position when you already have credibility in the community.
That's right.
Right? Because you're trying to take an incumbent out that has the ability to say, we did this, we did that, I know about this, I know about that, I have talked with over time this person,
right,
or over time that person, and you can verify that, you can validate that, right? With someone that's not in the community, then it comes a piece of, well, even if they may not be the ideal person I want, they know the system, they know the players, they know what's going on, versus a brand new person that hasn't even at least made networks and associations and contacts.
Yeah.
So even though they may have to learn how things operate, they have resources they can be able to bring in on day one, right? And so that would be the number one recommendation is trying to come in cold turkey is very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I think the only things that have really probably helped me in my quick progression from, 7 months on planning and zoning to 9 months on city council to now mayor has been my involvement in the community. Going to the school district monthly meetings, talking with everybody, going out and talking to the Texas Department and all the different organizations. Within the first month of even becoming mayor, I called all the different entities, all the different levels of transportation, and said, hey, transportation is the number one key thing in our city.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about your organization, but I know you have a key role based upon what people are telling me. Can you tell me what you do and what I should be asking from you? And so that first month was nothing more than understanding who is what, who the contacts are. So if I ever needed to make a phone call or ever needed to shoot an email, I knew who I was talking to and that they were the right person.
Absolutely. I'm gonna ask you more about that in a minute. But I wanted to ask you about or I guess not ask you about, but you talked about even earlier just today, and that's honestly my second time hearing you say that.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know if even the audience today have heard you say it.
What?
That you were adopted from birth.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So the reason I'm bringing it up is there's a reason I'm bringing this up. Because to be adopted, and you've met your family, the family that gave you up for adoption, you met them too, right? So in bridging the gap, that's obviously about to happen, because Manor is full of Democrats and Republicans alike.
Okay.
The divide it's not as obvious as it's about to be on January 20th. So, because you still got people who really still believe that Donald Trump is going to pull it off, right?
Yeah.
The qualification you have to pull the community together, do you think it has come from that place that you've had to come to grips with in your own life by being adopted and even accepted by a family and then accepting the family that...
No and yes.
Okay.
All right.
That's why that was difficult for me to get out.
No and yes. No, in a sense that it's not what I reflect on in navigating the municipality.
Okay.
In the different personalities, goals, expectations of the constituents. And I always say constituents meaning the 14,000 in city limits and the other 30+ thousand within the extraterritorial jurisdiction. So we have a responsibility of meeting and exceeding expectation of 40,000 individuals.
Yeah.
The yes in the sense of someone walked down, I'm just gonna speculate, someone walked down the hall and said, I want that baby, instead of that baby, or instead of that baby, right? I could end up any which way, right? So for someone to take you in and raise you as their own when they don't have to, I respect that. I appreciate that. Especially, even my siblings are like, man, we glad you got out. You know what I'm saying? We glad. And we talk like that, and we bash each other, but we're all military too.
Yeah.
And so we all look at it and say, but we all had our military benefits, and we all determined how we were going to use them.
Yeah.
Right. But needless to say, I look at the city brought me in, took me in, coming out of the military in 2017, right?
Right.
A nobody. And to allow me to utilize whatever experience, whatever knowledge I've gained over my, 18 and a half years in the military and everything else since then.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, and I acknowledge that, and I respect that, and that's why I do what I can do with the time that I've allotted to be in certain positions in certain places, right? So that has transferred over. The no piece of it is managing the municipality is 100% the military.
Yeah.
Being in command, being in charge in uncertainty, and not, or learning over time, certain things you say will come back to bite you when you didn't mean it to. Over supporting or babying one individual or population over another will come back to bite you out of favoritism, right? Making or overstating things or making assumptions and them not coming through. Jeopardizing, your credibility and the success of other things. So I've learned all that through the military of my jobs. And what I can say in that regards, it's municipality-wise, it's not Republican, it's not Democrat. Now, if you want to ask me, if someone did when I was running for mayor, they're like, what are you? Are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? And my answer at that time was, that ain't what go on the ballot, right?
Ain't important for a mayor.
Right? But I think everybody knows I'm a Democrat, right? But I'll tell you this, my two biggest supporters are Republican. Why? Because at the end of the day, my job, my role, my responsibility is about what I do for the community, not for what I do for one population versus another, right? The other piece of it is the contacts, the people I made relationships just so happen to be, just like me being an Alpha Phi for fraternity, the people I knew just so happened to be in that organization, right? Just so happened to be, But again, regardless of whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, how are you using those connections and those ties to impact the constituents that you are supposed to serve, right?
But isn't that what it's about, though? Isn't that really what it's about? Just people being people. I understand. You identify yourself as conservative or whatever the case is. But people being people. Judge me on my merit. Not on who you think I vote for or who I support or a different label, Republican or Democrat or blue or red. We're people. And at the end of the day, you care about this country just like I care about this country, or you care about this issue like I care about this issue. Same thing. You see I'm a person that's able to get something done. Let's get it done.
I think, regardless of what's going on with the social inequity, the black and the brown and so forth, and discussions that are going there, regardless of your own personal beliefs or hatred or whatever, right? Professionally, at the end of the day, did that person help make your life better or not?
See?
Right? Did that person? That's where you start seeing people that used to be in the KKK, they potentially convert to something else, or you hear all these stories because they start seeing what the person is actually doing and not who the person is associated or affiliated with.
Right.
And I think that's the piece, especially when you're talking about a municipality or you're talking about the school district or any other type of leader, right? Especially the difference between just a general leader and the most senior leaders. Because the most senior leaders have to operate in a way that a regular leader doesn't. As a regular leader, right? The assistant store manager, the shift leader. There's someone who you have to impress. As long as you meet their expectations recommendations, their guidance of how they want you to do your job,
That's right.
you're good, right? As long as you can justify why your people don't like you, you're good.
Yeah.
To be the most senior person,
Yeah.
that means you have to maintain the confidence of the people that put you in that place.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
Because if you get booted out that place, your whole career is potentially gone, because that means you do not have the aptitude to operate as the senior leader. 2, you're supposed to support your team. Then you're also supposed to support the people that are your subordinates. And then the third piece is you have to manage the external. Regular leaders don't have to do all that. And so the example here will be, I'll give you 2 examples. One, you have the military. When I was in command, my boss determined me over 3 or 4 other people, right? They have a certain expectation, and how much I let them into my role is based upon how much they can trust me and have faith in me and have credibility in me. If they lose that, then that means that's going in my evaluations and everything else, right? The other piece of it too is I have my staff. I have to make sure not only am I leading my staff, but I'm supporting their decisions as well, right? And then I have my subordinates, right? Here in the city, most people say, oh, well, you're trying to defend your city hall. You're naturally going to defend city hall. I'm like, no, I have to advocate for the community to city hall, but I also have to advocate to city hall about the community.
Yes.
And I also have to defend city hall, the people that are doing the work, and I know how they're doing the work. Council and I have to defend them to make sure they don't feel used and abused. The same way as we got to turn around and make sure things that are misunderstood or whatever by the community or to the community are rectified. And then the third piece of it is, how else do you think other cities and other counties and other organizations outside the city are going to really want to have true conversations with us if we don't start having credibility built up with them as well from the senior leader level, right? And we've all seen this before. If the boss is in the room but everybody else is talking, when the boss talks and it doesn't woo me, you ain't the real boss.
That's right. that's true. because the boss word should carry weight. You know, because this is the buck stops with him or her, right? And it should be meaningful when they say something.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That, I'm telling you, man, that's some good stuff. With you being able, with the experience of pulling people together, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be very important going into 2021. Because I don't think reality has hit everybody as of yet.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm talking about the presidential election at this point and how it's going to affect local municipalities, such as Maynard. If chaos is going to break out, if Donald Trump finds a way to remain president, right? And if he doesn't, those people that still believe he can right now today, chaos is going to break out.
To a certain degree.
To a certain degree. I'm not talking about martial law stuff.
Yeah, I hear you, but to me, it's one of those things where you say, what's at our level and what's above us? Plus, what's going on above us that influences our level, right?
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
And out of, let's say, out of 100% of whatever's going to happen, maybe only 10% really affects us here within the city, right? And that's the piece of it, is managing it and saying, I got it. I got that the national level policies, selections, hiring, all that's going to change. But how does that impact how we hire people, how we retain people, how we grow people here at the municipality,
absolutely,
right? And I think that's going to be the key thing, is realizing, saying, look, I get it, I got it, but that has no actual impact down here, right? Or you look at it and say, all right, whatever he does has some negative impact in job stability, right? That has an impact, but it doesn't stop us in saying, hey company, are you a Republican donor or are you a Democrat donor? No, we say, hey company, are you donating, right?
Well, that's true.
And so that's what I mean, is really being able to make sure people understand, regardless of how frustrated you are up here, that's up here stuff. Don't bring that home. The same way we try to do with the whole social injustice, equity stuff. It was horrible what was going on in Austin. Mm-hmm. But again, we still did the message. That's Austin. Mm-hmm. We may have it, but we don't have it like that
to
here.
that degree.
So don't bring that here, right? And we even then had to learn some things of, all right, well, what's that 10% that does affect us? We have people that work there.
Right.
We have people that had bad experiences over there that are potentially bringing it here. We have people that are moving from there bringing it here. So how do we now message and say that 10% of the population that situation does filter over here, we need to focus on that. But we don't have an 80% issue. We only have a 10% issue.
Unless it blooms.
But if you manage it right and you message it right and you focus on everybody you already know this. If I have 10 employees, 2 of them are always going to be bad.
Yeah.
Right? 2 of them are always going to be bad.
Every time.
But if I try to correct everybody, I'm going to make everybody mad. Versus if I spend my time and energy on the 2. Mm-hmm. And let the others be grown, right? And it's the same way here. What from higher is coming down affecting my 2 people? Let me deal with that. And not create issues for the other 8 it's not even impacted.
Yeah. That's what I want them to hear. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the message right there. Because, as I said, as I like to say, your qualifications for this, you were made for this. At this moment, you see what I mean? If we looked at on paper, everything on paper matches up with this moment as it concerns your resume for this moment. You see what I mean? Maybe not after this. No.
Look, like I said, right time, right place, and if that's what by God's designed, then so be it. You just gotta hope that whatever challenges are thrown at you have the capacity to meet and exceed the expectations and the demands. Yeah. Right? I tell everybody, my military service, one assignment built upon the next. Whether it was being in charge of all of Southern Iraq's post offices, and I wasn't even postal qualified. So I had to go through the issues of that, to being deployed with infantry and almost having to serve like an infantryman taking care of troops, right? The stressors of that, being dispersed locations and having to manage 1,240 people from 26 different units that never met before across 16 different locations. Yeah. That's communication like I don't know what. Yeah. To then NATO of serving, all U.S. forces for a 3-star that had 40 different nations in it. And my people work for other nations, and it's kind of like here in the community, like, well, I work for them, I don't work for you. Right? Yeah. Then I had bosses, I had people that were like 4 ranks higher than me. Man, I did your job 10 years ago. Let me tell you how to do it, right? So I just couldn't walk out and be like, I'm the commander, we're going to do this. I had to be like, hey, sir, next week we need to do this. Are you on board? And then talk to all 6 or 7 of the colonels, and they'd be like, oh, next week we're going to do this, and then you start saying, we're with you, sir, we're with you, we're with you. Right? So, I mean, all those different things, and even special operations. I'm not an aviator. I'm not even a special qualified aviator. But being the deputy chief of staff as a human resources in that unique, the only unit in the Army like it, going down to a colonel on behalf of the general saying, the general wants an update on this. And they give me, out of respect, because I earned it, the extra 3 to 5 minutes explanation of the answer. Right? And then to go back. Those things are what I'm talking about. That's what I learned in the military.
Yeah.
That's what I'm applying here, right? And that's the type of stuff when you're talking about who's going to be the next person that runs for office, what have they done in life? What experiences are they going to draw on in life? Because as we're talking about from council in City Hall, how is council being a positive impact to what City Hall needs?
That's right.
Not how is council showing up in City Hall is briefing them on documents they sent them a half a week earlier, and then basically is just voting yay or nay, right? How is council going out and saying, you need what? Oh, I know this person, or I know that person, or you know what? Because of the role I'm in, let me shoot an email knowing that as a council member, they will respond to us. How are we realizing to be that impact?
Absolutely. You got it down pat. Listen, 2021. I don't know why you laugh every time.
Go ahead, 2021 what? Let me turn to you. 2021 what? What about 2021?
Every time I say 2021.
What about 2021?
You a year in.
Yep.
What is it that you have not completed yet that you ran on your platform on?
Oh, man, go ask that.
That was on your platform in 19.
Now they're gonna be like, man, he conceited, he cocky. I've by the blessings of God, everything that I left city council for early, 13 months off of my term, and took a chance of running for mayor. Everything that I did that for, knowing the growth that Manor had, knowing what was going to be needed, that I thought I brought the value to fill that void to the table, was sealed in by the people on November 3rd with the elections.
All right. Term limits, you got them?
The term limits for the reason of what we saw needed to happen in building relationships, consistency, and making sure that these long-term goals get implemented. Talking about the different programs, committees for more conversation, finding ways to have deliberate conversations on things that needed to occur that don't have to occur otherwise if it's not by committee, right? Changing how we conduct our meetings. Now we have discussions and reports in the agendas. Even just the communication and the mentality change with council and city hall. We do a lot more dialoguing. We do a lot more talking. I push things out to them. The council has the ability to add things on the agenda. They know if they add it on the agenda, they're talking about it, right?
I saw in there some things that we're not talking about. That's on the list too. We won't be talking about these.
We'll talk about it later in the year. but my focus was always threefold. And early on, when I was talking with Commissioner Pavilion, Representative Cheryl Cole, Councilman Rudy Matera over in Pflugerville, and even Councilwoman Natasha Harper, you, Dr. Royce Avery, and Tom Balder, city manager, and definitely the city hall team. They all of of them. And when we talking to Ann, talking to Gene, talking to Jacob, talking to Sonia, say, when people were wondering, well, why are you putting so much time and effort into this when you don't have to? I said, it's not just making sure we get the connections, but to show people what we can potentially do if we put that additional effort into it. Showing the engagement with the community, that open transparency, which takes time. You have to go out there and talk. Showing that we can be a little bit more direct, blunt, brutal if we need to sometimes. Pushing back on county, pushing back on other cities, and saying, no, we're our own entity. You're gonna respect City of Manor. If Dylan, whatever his name, didn't get pulled over in Austin. He didn't get pulled over in Bee Cave. He didn't get pulled over in Rolling Wood. He got pulled over in the City of Manor. So correct that and give our police officers their due for the hard work they're doing. Right? All of that was intentional because my mindset has always been military definition of leadership. Motivate people, purpose, direction, but also improving the organization. Right? And I always said, it doesn't matter when the first 3 months that I was in there, but man, you're doing a great job. I said, I ain't doing nothing but go visit people. I ain't brought one thing into the city yet. If I did 2 years left out and nothing changed, but other than I like the guy, then what did I do? And so my intent was, when you talk about 54 brand new accomplishments, you're talking about a greater respect for the City of Manor. When you're talking about people that want to now bring businesses and do things within the City of Manor, when you're talking about city council members that want to go out and jump into things, right? When you're talking about city hall that, they're given the green light to push back on things. To give their voice, give their input, because they're the subject matter expert. They're the ones that got to implement whatever great idea we come up with, right? All that took time. I thought it was going to take 2 years, but COVID helped make that go quicker. But, that's what I was doing more than just, hey, he wants to be out there and be seen. I've been blessed to have too many credentials to be out here just to be seen.
That's true. That's true. And you speak, what you're speaking of is building a foundation. There has to be, and you talked about it earlier when you talking about the candidates, making sure that they're in the community before they're running. That's building the foundation. That's building up who you are. I'll never forget. My uncle, he owned a little fresh squeezed juice shop in a marketplace, and so he didn't like how messy they kept the place. So it was like something like 30 some odd vendors in this particular place, and so what he did was he just started taking their little cart, picking up the trash. I guess he did it probably 2, 3 times a day. His business wasn't that busy. He made all this stuff normally in the morning. So he pulled the cart and he just started collecting the trash up, because the meat guys, the butchers, they just throw the meat out there with the blood. Then he graduated to mopping it up, letting the place smell a little bit like bleach when the customers come in, all that kind of stuff. He built a foundation on what he could do. The owner of the marketplace came to him and said, "We want to pay you $1,000 a week for that, just to do what you're doing, and then we'll give you an additional allowance to hire you a couple people." That's what you're talking about. Building that foundation, being out in the public. Yeah, it's not to be seen, but it's absolutely necessary. You got to get out there into the. Can you imagine a pastor who's not in touch with the people? I got to be in touch with the people in my congregation.
I would, going back to some of your pieces, we say, what would I recommend? Go back through my posts. Wallace, and I liked how this one guy. I did it when I was in NATO, when our general had a photographer and a public affairs person. So I got used to that from that, using the photos the person took and all that stuff to message out stuff weekly on what was going on. But Paul Lawrence, who's the Undersecretary for Benefits for the Veterans Affairs, if you look on his LinkedIn page, and I kind of modeled a lot of what I do, any photo that has him in it, he didn't take himself. It was something that someone took of him in the situation.
Yeah.
And if you look at most of my posts, yes, I give the shout out to the city or whoever was the key person that did something, but you know, my goal, my role out of majority of my posts is highlighting who's involved, what their piece of the pie was. And council knows if I know something different than someone else posted out there, I'll be very quick to go clean that up, right? Because I'm not a fan. That's my one piece of it is, people know you're the leader.
Yeah.
People know you're the boss. You don't have to tell people that.
You don't.
Right? They're going to grow more respect of your role, of your position, by how well you manage your role in your position, right? So even if you connected the dots on a program, if you didn't create the program, then the program wasn't yours.
That's right.
You connected the dots, but what do you lose by saying these two entities that I connected to are the ones that actually made this program happen? And then a year from now, still say these two programs, right? 9 times out of 10, what you see is leaders over time either don't correct the story or they slowly modify the story to where it's only solely them. And those are things where I look at leaders and I say, you know what? That's where I got to start cutting my losses, because I don't associate with that, because that's false leadership.
Well, it is. And after over a course of time, you've gotten so far away from the truth, it's hard to come back and correct it. And now say, well, wait a minute. They've been saying this for 5 years. Where you been?
Yeah.
You know, how you going to say now?
Right.
You know.
So if anything, these 2 years as mayor is truly focused at trying to set the example, the best example I can as possible, to all sides of the house of, man, look what we were able to do with a focus like this. We will hopefully exceed that. We will hopefully get something like that. But we know, and this is what we should start expecting across the board, right? And that's the piece of it, is that, you know, what we need to have happen in this city, the growth that needs to occur, the respect by other entities on the outside for the city of Maynard. We need people like Dr. Chris Harvey.
Sure.
We need people like Emily Hill.
Sure.
We need people like that. You know, like Asanya Wallace. You know.
Absolutely.
You know, we need those people that are going to say, huh, you said what? You said what?
That ain't gonna fly. Hold up.
Right?
Yeah.
We need that, because, you know, like anybody else, the big businesses, they love to squash small businesses.
Sure.
And as a municipality, the city of Manor has always been considered a small business.
Yeah.
And we're starting to push back.
That's good. That's good stuff. 2021. You'll be setting up your re-election campaign. Have you thought about your platform? Since you've accomplished a lot of things to this point.
Yeah. So,
Thought about the platform for 2021.
I don't have a platform for 2021.
Straight up popularity.
I don't have a platform for 2021. What I will tell you, what I do have for 2021,
Okay.
is a plan that council has agreed we're going to go forward with that we developed back in August.
Okay.
And it's for 2021, how do we start creating potential district zones, economic zones, districts, and so forth to start bringing in the facilities, the activities, the things the community has been asking for that the city just doesn't have the financial ability to do. And plus, we don't want to just come out with a tax, one, on 14,000 people when 40,000 people are going to benefit from it. Right? So we're going to spend 2021 focusing, and hopefully the same way we threw 20 propositions to change structurally how we do business, we're hoping we have a lot of propositions that are dedicated on this approved tax by the people for this zone, this district for hotels, or this zone, this district for a community center, this zone, this district for a library, this zone, this district for a stripping mall, or not a stripping mall, but a mall that has,
I got you.
Right? You know, because that's potentially the only way we're going to be able to do it.
Be out there protesting that one.
Right? But that's my 2021, right? When elections come, you want me to answer that? That's what
No, not necessarily. You know, because really we've been talking about it the whole time.
Yeah.
Building the foundation and continuing the work. Now, does Maynard have the confidence in you to continue in the work that they've seen, or the progress that they've seen thus far? And that's what your platform will be, actually. That's what they'll be voting on. They'll be voting on the reputation and the continuation of the work that you've already started.
At elections on 2021. Not a platform.
Well, yeah. It doesn't have to be a platform.
I just want to make sure it's clear.
Okay, I'm not trying to slip it in on you. I'm just saying.
I just want to make it clear. The 2021 vision.
I'm not trying to slip it in. That's the vision. 2021 vision. I got it.
The goal.
I got it.
I don't have a platform for 2021.
Okay. That's a no-no. Alex, that's a no-no. Listen, Dad is a medical executive, a medical official. I'm gonna tell you how I feel about this, about your position first, and then I ask you. As mayor, you should have a position on the coronavirus vaccine confidence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And how do you plan to, as the mayor and as the son of a medical official, instill the confidence in the people who may not have that confidence of receiving this vaccine?
Right. And I think the good piece of it is I have the natural contacts within the healthcare space, whether it's the senior leadership, community care, central health, Seton, Baylor Scott and White, and so forth, right? So there's certain conversations of trust and confidence. Not secretive, but trust and confidence to be able to relay certain things and know it's not going to get misconstrued, or to be able to, as we did with the rollout of dealing with COVID, planning certain things and determining when it's releasable to the community, right? So I think we'll be able to have those conversations, which will enable council and city hall to really effectively execute our emergency management plan, because we'll have the trust and the confidence of those individuals to let us know what's going on, and it doesn't all of a sudden sound like, as you see sometimes on Facebook and some of the pages, just because I heard it, now I go tell everybody else, and that is just maybe iteration one of the actual concept.
Right.
And it's going to probably change or something, right? The other piece of it is, continually talking with the school district, Angel Vital, Dr. Spencer, talking with Central Health. Shannon Jones is on the board. He is the chair of the Eastern Crescent Committee for Central Health, right? Talking with the Black Leaders Collective, which has the Quincy Dunlaps and even my fellow electeds of Natasha Harper and Rudy Mateo and so forth, and bringing in the Mayor Pro Tem, Dr. Chris Harvey. So there's a second person asking those types of questions, right? Former Mayor Pro Tem Deja Hill asked those questions because she works with the Texas Health and Human Services Commission. Yeah. So she had an area of expertise in that area, right? So a lot of it is saying, in a sense of, when you have the right relationships, when you have the trust built, and then again, if you're understanding the role and the position you're in asking those questions and being able to get the information back, like, hey, I get that the city, by state code, under the governor, is the health and safety protocol person. Mm-hmm. Not the school district, not Walmart, not the county, right? And being able to do that pushback and talk and say, hey, we need to be informed as best as possible, because if something happens, you don't execute the emergency management plan. 3 people do: the mayor, the city manager, and the chief of police. And we have a committee that makes sure the decisions are going to be right.
That's right.
But the chief of police is the incident commander, on-ground decisions. The city manager is the emergency management director, manages all the different assets. And then me as the mayor is basically the chief of that emergency management plan to make on-the-spot decisions of what direction we need to go to. Mm-hmm. But we can't do that if we're not being informed of what the potential exposure rate may be of an asset that's sitting right inside of our circumference.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up my last topic that I want to discuss is really the school board itself. With all the COVID transmissions that are going on in the school board, I guess I wanted you to kind of elaborate on the power of the city. Mm-hmm. And the power that the city has as the cases begin to progress. Mm-hmm. The level obviously went up today to orange, level 4, and it's already red in Williamson County. So we're headed in a direction that there may have to be some shutdown. What is the power of the mayor's office so far as it goes with the shutdown of the city in itself? I got in trouble, full disclosure, I got in trouble with the school board last week. I'm getting texts all the time from teachers, bus drivers. These folks are afraid.
And I think that comes down to understanding that the school district is an asset of the Texas Education Agency. The Texas Education Agency is a state department. Because the State Department is considered essential, that automatically makes the independent school districts assets of that essential state agency. Mm-hmm. Although municipalities are the local health and safety overseers, right? There's eggshells because there's no clear policy. Even when I've called the Texas Attorney's Office, there is no clear policy because a pandemic has never ever been thought of in state code. There have been things where County Commissioner Trevelyan has pushed back on mortuaries for not informing people that an individual was COVID positive because it wasn't in black and white that was approved to be able to do sensitive information. So there's a lot of things that, if it comes down to it, and that's what we said, we have to know what the potential exposure rate is. We have to know what that entity wants to do, that their laws may not allow them to do, and us to come and figure out, is this a situation where if we do it for a day, 2 days, or whatever, what are the costs that the city may have to cover because it's shutting you down outside of any approved aspect from your natural chain of responsibility. When TEA shuts the schools down, it's still funding the electricities, the utilities, the teachers, everything else, right? So if you oversee and shut them down, that now means the taxpayer dollars that we receive from the municipality have to justify shutting it down, right? For how long? What's the purpose? What's the reason, right? Is TEA then going to come back and supersede, and then we go into that battle and so forth, right? So it's not just an easy decision to make.
Right.
It has to be warranted. But again, if we're not being informed, then we're not going to be a part of the conversation.
Right. Right. And that's it. That's
Now, hold on. Let me clarify, because last time I made a statement like that, I got hit. Not meaning we're not going to be part of the conversation, but we can't force ourselves into someone else's meeting.
Yeah.
We can invite them to our meetings all day long. They ain't got to show up. But we also can't force ourselves into their meetings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That, you know, when the public hits me up, and, you know, obviously people don't come to me until there's a problem. I always hear the problems. I get some testimonies, but usually I get the problems.
Right.
And so I immediately get into action, and I try to reach out to those in which can make those decisions. One person I have not talked to this day is Dr. Spencer, and I'm sure eventually it'll happen. And I'm sure it's because of all the COVID stuff. The reason I haven't, but when the people start looking for answers from anywhere because of how afraid they are, then we talked about it earlier. They start pointing the finger at the city. The school board haven't said anything. So now can we go to the mayor? Okay, mayor not saying much. Now who can we go to above him? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so that's what you hear.
But I think that goes back down to even when and I know we got to get ready and close, even when I'm talking with, say, Compass Rose that's coming out here and launching in 2021, or I'm talking to another organization that may be interested, they're giving me their materials, right? We can't use bullet point comments also as our information source.
That's right.
Right? We can't use blanket statements. They're great on a slide. Mm-hmm. They're great as openers or thought-provoking for the person that's speaking. Right? But you also have to realize you have to cut straight to the chase. Yeah. We all know, wash your hands, put your mask on, check your temperature, right? To tell me to do that, what's that doing? And you're the senior person, right?
Right.
Let someone from county tell me that and say, hey, how are we going to get this stuff down? Hey, take this. No. We've been doing that for a year. Like, is there a new process? Is there a new system? Is there some new thing that's out there that we also need to do? Because if the people aren't doing that, then what are we as an organization doing to help
to curb this thing?
Curb that. Mm-hmm. I mean, for us at City Hall, we partnered with Seton for their Screen to Go program. Right. And that's helped out our team of one, managing 66 plus people, and it forces them to screen in, answer out some questions, gets a green or amber. She gets notified right then and there, but it also then within a couple hours gets a phone call from the local Seton within a day or two to go get tested, right? But it mitigates some of the things of, oh, I don't want to go into work today, I'm sick. right?
Yeah.
Because now you have a status check. But then also, hey, you know what? I forgot to check myself today, or I'm supposed to self-check myself, or it also mitigates a lot of that too. And so again, what are you doing as an organization? What are you doing as a store owner? What are you doing as a business owner? What are you doing to make sure you don't get complacent? Because the rules right now from the governor is it's on you, and the municipalities can't step in.
That's true, but it's hard when you got kids showing up to the bus stop with no mask. Parents dropped them off with no mask.
Again.
Again, that's difficult.
I got it, but again, it goes back down to what questions are you asking? What answers are you expecting? And what information that you receive are you allowing to be the end of it? Right? It's a two-way conversation.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
It's a two-way conversation. But again, as a leader, at least what I do, I try to address those questions head off, so that way I'm the one leading the conversation.
Yeah.
And we just gotta hope that whether it's the school district, whether it's Compass Rose, whether it's Walmart, if things start happening there or someone else, that it's a proactive conversation. It's an open and transparent conversation, even if there's parts of it that the community's not gonna like.
Sure.
I'd rather them respect me because I'm being transparent and honest and letting them know where the holes are in the plan, than waiting, kind of like the Marines, give them 75% of what we came up with plan, versus waiting until we have 100% and we already lost everybody.
That's right. That's right. That's just it. That's real talk, folks. Sitting here with the Honorable Dr. Mayor Larry Wallace Jr. And I am Pastor David Cox, and we thank y'all for joining us tonight. Peace and God bless.